Time now for the look at the teams in the American League Central, or as I'm calling it, the Gateway Division. This will be the Royals, Cardinals, Rockies, Diamondbacks, and the Mariners. We have only 6 part-time players in this division. 3 of them are on the Mariners. 1 Cardinal, 1 Diamondback, 1 Rocky. No Royals in that category. We'll tell you about how those players got to or left their ball clubs during the seasons involved as we get to them. We'll start with the Cardinals, and we'll take a look at the St. Louis pitching staff. Cardinal rotation going to be one of the better ones in the division. Bob Gibson from 1968, John Tudor 1985 make a formidable 1-2 combination. They're followed up by Adam Wainwright from 2010, Chris Carpenter from 2005, and Joaquin Andujar, a 20-game winner on the Cardinals in 1984. The mop-up pitcher for the Cardinals is Brad Thompson. He was on the St. Louis club for part of 2007. That was his only big league experience. That year was with the Redbirds. The 2 long relievers, John Fogum from the 79 ball club and Ernie White from the 42 ball club, will be his backup in that role. 3 setup pitchers on the Cardinals staff: Bobby Shantz from 1963, Tom Bruno from 1978, and Stu Miller from 1952. The closer is Jason Mott from the 2012 St. Louis Ball Club. The Cardinal lineup: Willie McGee from the 85 club will lead off in center. The 2-hitter is Ted Simmons from 77, and he'll be followed in the 3-hole by Stan Musial from 1948, his best season overall. The 4-hitter in the cleanup spot will be Mark McGuire from the 98 club, and he'll be at first. Albert Pujols will be a DH. He'll bat 5th, and his 2008 season is what we're representing in the league here. Fernando Tatis from 1999 will be at third, batting 6th. He of the 2 grand slams in 1 inning from that year. The second baseman, Frankie Fish from 1930, will hit 7th. The 8-hitter will be the shortstop Ozzie Smith, the Wizard, from 1987. And the 9th-place hitter in right field will be George Hendrick, and he was a Cardinal for this league from 1980. On the St. Louis bench, a little bit of versatility on this club. You have Steve Braun from the 83 Cardinals, who could play outfield and third base. And you have Eduardo Perez from the 2000 Cardinals, who could play outfield as well as third and first base. The backup catcher, Joe Garagiola from 1950. And Ken Oberkfell is the part-timer, the 1984 Cardinal. Oberkfell could play his primary position is third base, but he can also back up at short and at second. And Oberkfell being a part-time Cardinal, let's give you the story on his acquisition from 84. He was actually traded from St. Louis to the Atlanta Braves for Ken Daly, among others. And that was at the trading deadline in 1984, the non-waiver deadline, which, as I've mentioned once before, at that point was June 15th. It moved back to July 31, 2 years later in 1986, but that was the story on Oberkfell. So traded to Atlanta from the Cardinals mid-June of 84. Now we'll take a look at the Diamondbacks. They have a part-timer on their pitching staff. We'll tell you about him in just a minute, but first the Arizona starters. The Diamondback rotation: Kurt Schilling from 2002 will be the staff ace. He'll be followed by Dan Herron from 2009, Ian Kennedy from 2011, Patrick Corbin from 2013, and Brandon Webb from 2003. That's the Arizona 5-man rotation. Omar Dahl from the 99 Diamondbacks will be the mop-up pitcher. He'll also be in a kind of a long relief role because he can go that route and be serviceable if they get into a situation where they're deep in extra innings. The 2 pitchers in the official long relief roles for Arizona: Wade Miley from 2012 and Josh Commenter from 2011. Arizona's got 3 setup pitchers: Byung-Hyun Kim from 2001, Tony Pena from 2007, and Jose Valverde from 2003. The closer is Daniel Hudson. Now, he was acquired in 2010 from the White Sox, July 30th, so he's a part-time Diamondback. And he pitched about 80 innings for Arizona the rest of the way, mostly as a starter. But similar to Doug Fister, we talked about earlier with Detroit, because of that late acquisition, his innings with the ball club that he's on were lower. So he, like Fister, is going to be in a closer's role for Arizona. Diamondback lineup will look like this. Eric Burns from 2007 leads off in center field. Justin Upton from 2011 will be a designated hitter. He'll bat second. Luis Gonzalez from 2001, the left fielder, hits third. Paul Goldschmidt, the first baseman from 2013, will hit cleanup. Jay Bell, who was a shortstop for Arizona, but he will play at third base for the Diamondbacks. His 1999 campaign has him batting in the 5 spot. Steve Finley from the 2000 ball club in right field will hit 6th. A pair of 2012 Diamondback seasons are represented in the 7 and 8 spots. Miguel Montero batting 7th and catching, and batting 8th at second base, Aaron Hill, the 9-hitter from the 2010 ball club, Stephen Drew at short. Will Nieves will be the backup catcher on the Arizona bench from 2013. The backup outfielder will be Dave DeLucci from the 1999 ball club. And Arizona has 2 backup infielders. Both play second, third, and short. Obviously, they can go to first if needed. Alex Cintron from the 2003 club, and Craig Counsell from the 2000 Diamondbacks. Now we'll take a look at the Seattle Mariners, and they have 3 part-timers on their roster. We'll tell you about them and the rest of the ball club right now. The Seattle rotation: Randy Johnson, 1995, is the staff ace. Felix Hernandez, 2010, will be the second pitcher, and they're followed from there by Freddie Garcia from the 2001 116-win ball club. He'll be joined by Hisashi Iwakuma from 2013 and Mark Langston from 1987. Mariners have 3 long relievers, no mop-up pitcher on their staff. Scott Bankhead from 1988, Michael Pineda from 2011, and a part-timer, Jared Washburn from 2009. He was traded from Seattle July 31st at the non-waiver trade deadline to the Detroit Tigers for the rest of that particular season. The back end of the Seattle bullpen, I misspoke. The Mariners have 4 players that are part-timers. A second pitcher on their staff. Norm Charlton from 1995 joins Kazuhiro Sasaki and Arthur Rhodes, both from 2001, in the setup role for Seattle. J.J. Putz from 2007 is the Seattle closer. Now, as far as Charlton goes, he was a 1995 acquisition for Seattle. And his story is interesting. He was released July 10th of 1995 by the Phillies. The Mariners picked him up July 14th as a free agent, and he performed very well for them down the stretch. Now, on the batting side for Seattle, 2 bench guys that also have part-time histories. We'll tell you about those when we get there. First, the Mariner lineup, and it's a pretty good one. These are all pretty good lineups, but some of them they're a little more difficult to pitch through than others. The top 5 for Seattle certainly fit that category. Ichiro Suzuki from 2004 leads off, plays left field. Alvin Davis from 84 at first base will hit second. Ken Griffey Jr. from 94, right field, batting third. Alex Rodriguez will bat cleanup his 2000 season, representing the Seattle Ball Club. The 5-hitter, the designated hitter, and some would argue a Hall of Fame candidate as a hitter. And if you're going to put closers in, DHs should go in, especially if they're named Edgar Martinez. That guy could just hit, and hit some more. Brett Boone from 2001, the second baseman, will hit 6th. The 7-hitter, Rupert Jones, in center field from the 79 Mariners. The 8-hitter will be the third baseman, Kyle Seager, from 2013. And the catcher, Dan Wilson, will bat 9th, 1997, his Seattle season. The Seattle bench, Reggie Jefferson from 1994, first baseman, outfielder, DH, will be on the bench. He'll be joined by versatile infielder Willie Bloomquist, who was on the Mariners in 2005. The 2 part-timers, Scott Bradley from 1986, a catcher, and Ray Sanchez, an infielder from 2003. In Bradley's case, he was acquired via trade on June 26th of 1986 from the White Sox by Seattle. Sanchez was acquired via trade July 29th of 2003 by the Mariners in a deal with the New York Mets. We're down to two teams to look at, the Royals and the Rockies, and next we'll look at Colorado. Let's take a look at the Rockies. We'll start with their pitching staff. Ubaldo Jimenez from the 2010 Rockies will be the staff ace. Juli Sassin will be the second pitcher from 2011. A pair of 06 Rockies will be in the 3 and 4 spots. That would be Jeff Francis and Jason Jennings, respectively. And then Jorge De La Rosa from 2009 will be the fifth starter. Now, the Rockies have a lot of bullpen depth. Pedro Estacio from 1999 will be the mop-up pitcher. He'll be the kind of that mop-up slash long reliever when all else fails, because he had a ton of innings under his belt that year. Kind of the way we're using Omar Dahl with the Diamondbacks and a couple others. The long relievers for Colorado, Marvin Freeman from the 1994 Rockies, their second year when they were surprisingly in contention in the National League West before the strike. And he'll be joined by Josh Kennedy as the backup in that role. Kennedy was a Rocky, I guess I should correct myself, Joe Kennedy, not Josh, Joe Kennedy. 2004, his season as a Colorado Rocky. The bullpen is the strength on the back end of this pitching staff. Manny Corpus from 2007, or Manuel Corpus as they have him listed here. Steve Reed from 1995, and John Thompson from 2001. Thompson, they're the setup pitchers. And then Gabe White, a part-time Rocky, although he practically pitched the whole season with them in 2000, and he had very good numbers out of the bullpen. He's been put into the closer's role for the Rockies. The 2000 season opened that year on April the 3rd, and he got into an inning or two at the Reds, and then 4 days later, on Friday, April 7th, he was traded to Colorado. So that's the story with Gabe White. He was traded from Cincinnati to Colorado April 7th of 2000. Rocky lineup, and it's a good one. The fourth best slugging team overall, behind the Red Sox, Yankees, and the Giants, and you'll see why. Eric Young from the 96 Rockies will lead off at second base. Ellis Burks, the two-hitter in center field, also from that 96 club. Larry Walker, right field, 1997, in the 3 spot. Todd Helton from 2000 will clean up and play first base. 5-hitter for Colorado is the left fielder Matt Holliday, who was a 2007 Rocky and part of that memorable playoff with San Diego. Andres Galarraga from the 96 Rockies will be the DH batting 6th. Vinny Castilla from the 98 Rockies will be at third base hitting 7th. The 8-hitter Troy Tulowitzki, his 2011 campaign, representing his contribution. He'll be the shortstop batting 8th. And Rolene Rosario, the catcher, will bat 9th, his 2012 rookie campaign for Colorado. On the Rocky bench, and they've got some of that depth like we talked about with the Rangers and a couple other clubs. Alex Cole from 1993, a backup speedy outfielder. Mike Kingery, 1994, and he put up really good numbers as in terms of batting average and on base. Backup outfielder slash first baseman, and he'll definitely see his share of playing time. Terry Shumpert from the 1999 Rockies, a utility player who, like Kingery, really good numbers and can play all over the infield as well as the outfield. And the backup catcher for Colorado, Jeff Reed, the 97 season, he hit 17 home runs and less than 300 at-bats. And since Rosario's at-bat total was less than 500, Reed will get some playing time in the catcher's position. And now we'll finish the division looking at the Kansas City Royals. They have no part-timers on this team. The pitching rotation, and it's a pretty good one. Their staff ace, Brett Saberhagen from 1989. He'll be followed up by Zach Greinke from 2009 and David Cohn from 1994. And in the 4 and 5 spots, Kevin Appier from 1993 and Dennis Leonard from 1977. The Royals do not have a mop-up pitcher. 3 pitchers in the long relief role for Kansas City. Dan Quisenberry from 1983. He was a closer that year, but he had 139 innings, so that's why he's in the long role. He'll be joined by Roger Nelson from 1972 and Tom Gordon from 1989. The setup core for Kansas City, Jeff Montgomery from 1989, Luke Hochevar from 2013, and Joakim Soria from 2008. The closer will be Greg Holland from 2013. The Kansas City lineup, Johnny Damon from 2000 leads off in left. Darrell Porter from 79, the catcher, will bat second. The three-hitter, George Brett from his 1985 campaign that led the Royals to the World Series. I didn't take his 1980 campaign, just the at-bats weren't quite high enough that I was looking for. John Mayberry from 75 will be the first baseman batting cleanup. Mike Sweeney from 2000, the DH, will hit 5. Six-hitter, Amos Otis from the 1973 Royals, he'll play right field for Kansas City. Jose Offerman from the 98 Royals at second base will hit 7th. Willie Wilson, you'd normally think of as a leadoff hitter, but the on-base issues is why I've got him in the 8-hole. Wilson is in center field. 9-hitter Angel Baroa from the 2003 Royals, who will be the shortstop. The Kansas City bench looks like this. Clint Hurdle from 1981 will be a backup outfielder. Esteban Herman from 2006, the backup infielder. Ryan Shaley from the 2008 club, a backup first baseman and a slugger. And Hector Ortiz will be the backup catcher from the 2000 Kansas City Ball Club. My predictions on this division, I would say Cardinals number 1. They've got the best combined team. Number 2, I'll go Royals, followed by the Mariners, Rockies, and Diamondbacks in that order. One division left to look at. And on the next clip, we'll tell you about the American League West, or in this case, the Upper Midwest Great Lakes Division, Chicago, Milwaukee, Minnesota.